Good day. I am Liesl Pretorius, Head of Legal with Freedom of Religion South Africa. Thank you for joining us for this important discussion. We will be looking at religious freedom and its empowering and how it empowers women in our constitutional democracy. On the 9th of August 1976, thousands of women marched on the Union buildings in Pretoria to protest the law that required Black people to carry an identity document known as the Dompas. These women stood united against the oppressive apartheid regime, showing that women of all races and religions could come together to fight for a more just and equal society in South Africa. So we hope that this conversation today honors their legacy, and it also serves as an important reminder that the right to religious freedom is deeply connected to the enjoyment of the rights guaranteed to women in our constitution. So Nobu, my esteemed colleague and our legal consultant, is joining us for this conversation. So happy Women's Month, Nobu. I think we have to start with saying that, and happy Women's Month to all our viewers. I think the very first question we need to discuss is, what is religious freedom? Because we often talk about religious freedom, but what does it actually mean? What does it actually mean for the individual person on the street?
Hey Liesel, happy Women's Month to you too. So
Thanks.
religious freedom is a right that is enshrined in the Constitution of South Africa in Section 15, and it's also a right that is protected through a number of other international instruments that South Africa is signatory to. And I think Section 15 encapsulates it really well, and it's worth reading. So Section 15 of the Constitution says, everyone has the right to freedom of conscience, religion, thought, belief, and opinion. Religious observances may be conducted at state or state-aided institutions, provided that those observances follow rules made by the appropriate public authorities. They are conducted on an equitable basis, and attendance is free and voluntary. And those are such key words, especially in our modern day cancel culture. It is the right to have your own opinion, your own beliefs, and to not be forced to freely and voluntarily believe whatever it is that you want to believe. And there's other rights in the Constitution as well, such as the right to equality, the rights of religious, cultural, and linguistic communities that also protect and promote the right to religious freedoms. And so, what this means for the person living every day and in our community is that you have the right to practice, express, and change your religious beliefs without fear of discrimination or persecution. It includes the freedom to worship as you choose, to observe religious rituals that you decide, and that you can express your faith privately and publicly, and to change your beliefs as you grow and change, which is something that obviously in this modern day world, it's hard to believe that people can change opinions that they had 20 years ago. But our constitution actually guarantees the right to grow as you learn new things and change your opinion. And in South Africa, the right to freedom of religion is even more sacred because of where we come from. Remembering how religion was used as a tool of oppression in the apartheid era. The apartheid government imposed severe restrictions on many communities, including religious freedoms. And this was particularly if you practiced a religion that wasn't Western or the Afrikaner version of Christianity that existed at the time, and any indigenous beliefs. And we remember that the Christian National Education Policy, it promoted a very weird, twisted version of Christianity that infringed the rights of other religions, and eventually was led to the creation of the Bantu education system, and we know how harmful that has been to Black people. And so, in South Africa, we remember that the struggle for freedom and equality wasn't just political, but it was deeply connected to our spirituality and the right to express one's religion freely. And this actually, in reality, it means challenging where religion is used to oppress, and making sure that we champion spaces that allow voices that reflect a better path, that are inclusive, and ensure that everybody's religion is respected. And it also, when we look back, it also stands as a reminder of what happens when any ideology or religious belief is held above others, and any dissenting voices are shut down.
Yes, I think it's important, Norbert, to note that our right to religious freedom is so broad that it even includes the right not to believe. I think many people miss that in our constitution. it also includes that it protects also your agnostic person, your atheist person, your person who is seeking. And I think what is stands out for me for religious freedom, and what is so encouraging about its protection in our current constitutional order, is that it places religion in the right space. Is that in healthy religion and a healthy society, it's actually uses to enrich people's lives. Um, it is a tool that nourishes and encourages flourishment of society. It's not a tool of oppression. So we're glad that we have come a long way, and I think this is interesting. And it's also an important reminder because we're living now in 2024. It's been 30 years since our first democratic election, and there might be some of us who might start to forget that the rights that we enjoy today and the freedoms that we enjoy today was hard fought for. We can't just take them for granted. And we know that religious freedom is interconnected with other human rights. Human rights don't exist in this vacuum, little silos. They all are mutually strengthening, mutually supportive. So, can you explain a little bit for our viewers how does religious freedom intersect with other human rights?
Oh, I mean, religious freedom is deeply interconnected with other human rights. And we see this in the way it manifests in other areas such as education, healthcare, and family. And the way in which our beliefs and the way in which we live, move, and express ourselves is deeply connected to our religious beliefs, or lack thereof of a specific religious belief. For example, the right to freedom of expression, it allows you to communicate your religious beliefs, and the right to assembly. For that right to be to be respected, it means that religious groups must be able to gather and worship collectively as they please. Additionally, there's other rights, the right to equality and non-discrimination. It means that all religious beliefs must have the same equal protection under the law. And the right to health is connected to the right to belief, because it means that one's religious belief ensure that one is able to choose their treatment plan based on the principle of consent. And that principle requires that you respect my religious belief, because a lot of people's faith dictate what kind of healthcare services they can access, what type of food we can eat, and it intersects, as we see in our work every day at 4SA, very strongly with the right to education, ensuring that children can receive instruction in their faith, and that religious institutions can operate educational facilities such as the theological colleges or your early childhood development centers that are run by churches and other religious um, belief systems.
Yes, so I think what is abundantly clear is that freedom of religion is an integral part of all living. It is actually integral for meaningful living because, as I said, freedom of religion, that right in our constitution encompasses the right to believe and the right not to believe. So whether you believe or you don't believe, whatever it is you believe influences how you approach life and how you interpret life and how you add meaning and how you conduct your life. But it's Women's Month, and this discussion is about freedom of religion and women's rights specifically. So, is there any specific significance of freedom of religion for women?
Oh yes, I mean, there are numerous ways that religious freedoms affect women in a manner that is quite unique to us. Women's bodies, our bodies, are always sites of contestation, and in many cases, religion can be used to either vilify or justify choices that affect women directly. And a country that protects its religious freedoms in a constitutional democracy, it often creates an environment where women are able to thrive and live very freely to be their best versions of themselves. And in South Africa, if you attend any church on a Sunday, you're going to find that the majority of people that are attending churches are women. And we use churches because in the South African context, the majority religion is the Christian faith. But if you attend any, as we know, most religions, a lot of them, women are at the center of those religious institutions, doing all the caring, the planning, the administrative work, etc. And so women have a deep investment in how religious institutions are run. And then there's also the issue, as we know as mothers, that women carry the brunt of childcare in South Africa. Recently, a lot of a lot of wonderful publications around early childhood development have been released. We have the Child Gauge that came out, and the National ECD Review came out, and they all remind us of the same thing. Women are the primary caretakers of children in their early ages in life. And in South Africa, with mostly women-led households, we know that women are the primary caregivers. And so when children come home from school and they have questions where the curriculum has intersected with their religious faith, it is the women who bear the responsibility of helping the world make sense to their children. And if an education curriculum has very strong ideological leanings, this creates a problem primarily for the women at home who have to figure out how to help their children navigate these truths. And additionally, what we know is when religious freedom is restricted, it often goes hand in hand with other forms of oppression against women, which is usually your gender-based violence and oppression against women. And so protecting religious freedoms for women, it ensures that women have the autonomy to make the decisions about their faith. And this includes whether they want to have a faith or not, what they want to do with their children, how they want to raise their children, how they want to gather, how they want to meet, and much needed access to healthcare. And a big thing I know for myself as a woman is I draw a lot of my strength and support from my religious community. And it's very vital for my personal and professional development to be able to have sisters that I can meet with in a place that I feel safe and the law protects and allows me to gather. And so our choices are very determined by our religious or philosophical ideologies. And we also know there's the economic benefits for women. Economically, women make up the majority of workers in charitable
Mhm.
institutions and the admin staff in churches and everything. So the way that churches fund or religious organizations fund these nonprofit organizations directly affects women's pockets as well. And so religious freedom is so ingrained in everything that women do and in every hard fought freedom that women have to protect.
Yes, absolutely, Nora. I think you painted quite the elaborate effect or the big picture of how freedom of religion intersects with women's lives. And at the end, you discuss the economic impact. Now, women often bear the brunt of economic hardships. And in some countries, religious freedom is oppressed, unfortunately. And I mean, you've done a bit of research into this. Is there a correlation between the oppression of religious freedom and the quality of life and economic prosperity of that country, and specifically also of women?
Yes, there's a really strong correlation. Plenty of studies have been done to prove this. The World Bank did a report, and their report on governance and the law, it highlights how religious oppressions correlate to poor economic outcomes in a lot of countries. And there's a brilliant, prominent researcher. His name is Brian Grimm. If anybody's interested in that, go look up the stuff that he's written. And he posits that religious repression can hinder economic growth because it creates social instability and it reduces the potential for innovation and entrepreneurial activity. And so countries that suppress religious freedom often have lower levels of social cohesion and higher levels of conflict. And obviously, that leads in reduced economic prosperity. So when religious freedom is oppressed, it leads to social unrest, discrimination, there's instability, there's lack of productivity in society. And this makes sense. And conversely, where religious freedom is protected, it fosters a more inclusive, peaceful, economically vibrant society. And people are more likely to contribute to the economy and the community when they feel they can express their beliefs without fear of being cancelled or labeled as other. And we know that when there's economic hardship in situations, women often bear that burden of having to fend for themselves and make sure that their children are taken care of. And so we want to make sure that we protect religious freedoms in South Africa for the sake of the individual to have a full life, but also from the human benefit, the cost benefit to our society in the long run. It's actually a great way to ensure that we can fight against poverty by making sure that we protect religious freedoms in South Africa.
Yes, religious freedom is clearly a social and economic good, and it's a fundamental constitutional right. And I think what we need to realize is that it's a fundamental, it's a critical, vital keystone democratic rights. So when religious freedom goes, your other democratic rights will also be compromised, or they will also start falling. So that's why it's such a it's because it so interlinks with other rights and how you have the freedom to live your views and your beliefs and your values in society. So Norbu, in your view, you've mentioned that we want freedom of religion in South Africa, we want prosperity for our people. In your view, what steps can be taken to promote and protect religious freedom in South Africa, but specifically for women in South Africa?
I think to protect religious freedom in South Africa, it's essential to enforce and strengthen the existing legal frameworks that safeguard this right. And one of the things that's great about South Africa, and you always hear, is we've got fantastic laws on paper. And as we are growing as a young democracy and ensuring our implementation, we must also make sure that we protect what is already existing in the constitution and in the laws. And as we've seen over the years, there have been some efforts to erode religious freedoms in the name of secular ideologies and beliefs and worldviews um, that would seek to usurp um, existing beliefs and create a new type of belief system. It may not be a religion, it may not be Christianity or Islam or Hinduism, but it is a belief system, and it is growing. And those belief systems are seeking to erode away other religious freedoms. And, a prominent discussion in today's debate is the simple inability to define what is a woman. How can we protect women's rights if beliefs are infiltrated that seek to raise the very notion of womanhood and safe spaces for women? If I can't, if I can't say what is a woman, Lisa, how can I protect women? If I don't know what is a
Mm,
woman, what is Women's Month? You know, what is the purpose of all of this? And so this is just from a basic logical, ideological space. We need to be able to hold fast to uh, making sure that we're able to define what is a woman and the type of rights and benefits that women have, and ensure that the Constitution provides protections for all other groups of people. But we don't have to take away women's rights in order to extend rights to others. And so the ongoing, and an example of this, is the ongoing battle concerning the education curriculum and the rights of parents to teach their children their religious beliefs. Um, in, in, in this question of womanhood and safeguarding women's rights, and all the ongoing debates about, bathrooms and restrooms and women's safe spaces, women's shelters, women's prisons. All these types of things are questions that as a society we have to grapple with, understanding the context that we live in, realizing that rights can be extended without taking away from the next person. And so that's a big part of the work that we do at 4SA. It's ultimately, when you protect religious freedoms, you ultimately protect women's rights. Whether we are campaigning against a curriculum that seeks to impose a single worldview to the detriment of other beliefs, we're protecting women. Whether we're fighting for the rights of marriage officers to decide which marriages they will solemnize, and how they don't want the law to force them to express their beliefs, we're protecting women. And whether it's labor laws that would affect how churches operate, we're protecting women. Religious freedom rights are women's rights. And protecting these rights requires that the public doesn't forget where we came from, like we said, and learning from our mistakes and those of other countries. Because you don't have to look far, you can look around the world in countries that are reducing the rights, their religious freedom rights, and imposing new ideologies, and see what that does to their societies. And so this is why for us at 4SA, our public campaign awareness campaigns, we help to educate the communities about the importance of religious freedoms and invite people to advocate and protect religious freedoms, because like I said, religious freedom rights are women's rights. And so this is the amazing work that we do at 4SA, protecting religious freedom rights and protecting women's rights. But Lisa, how does one come through and support this amazing, incredible work that is being done by 4SA?
Well, no, of course, at 4SA, we encourage everyone very strongly to visit our website. The address is www.4sa.org.za. And on our website, you will see our contact details. You can subscribe to our newsletter, so you'll get alerts about important developments, important updates affecting faith and freedom in South Africa. And we are also in social media. We have a Freedom of Religion SA Facebook page. We have a YouTube channel that you've probably found because you're watching this video. Um, we encourage you to watch our other informative videos, and we also encourage you to partner with us through supporting our campaigns, liking and sharing our content, and staying informed about these threats and opportunities. That really helps us. If you can encourage us or assist us by raising awareness, by spreading the word about these issues, by participating in public participation, that can make a tremendous difference. Never underestimate the value of your voice. Um, and additionally, for SA, we are 100% dependent on donations. So your financial support is also very important. It continues us in our efforts to stand for faith and freedom in South Africa. And we cannot have come to where we are and do the work that we do without the generous support of the public. And so we thank the public for that, and we ask them to continue to do so. It is really our shared victory. So thank you. We hope that this discussion on faith and freedom, and particularly religious freedom in Women's Month, was interesting and that you found it insightful. And we hope that you will be joining us also for our next discussion. Thank you.